Hey everyone, welcome to This Week with Tampa Bay Sports with a Ro. I'm Ro. Hey, I am excited to talk about last night's Lightning game. Last night, playing the Panthers, when we went to overtime, I was going to do what I've said on every episode so far. We've won 2 Stanley Cups. I don't give a shit. I just want us to stay competitive and play well. So I was fully ready to say that when we went into overtime. Even if we lost, we didn't lose. So fuck them. Fuck Miami. I hate the Panthers. I literally hate that team. So here's something I learned recently that ties into the Panthers. I do not know if this is true. I heard it from a couple of drunk guys at a hockey bar here in Kansas City. I heard that the video 2 Girls, 1 Cup was actually 1 girl, 1 Hornquist, 1 cup. Don't know if that's true or not. That's just what the word is on the street here in Kansas City. So, hey, this week, upcoming with the Lightning, we have the Islanders on Monday at home. Great game. We've fought them hard in the playoffs the last 2 years to get to the Stanley Cup final. So, always be a good game. We're at Philly next week, which means we get to see whatever the heck their mascot's name is. I think it's Gritty. It scares me. Actually, it doesn't scare me. I do have my wife dress up as Gritty every once in a while when we role play. That's a totally different story, but you can hear that on my other podcast, The Longest One Night Stand with Bobbi Ro. Just want to drop that in there. Anyway, Gritty is later in the week, and the next weekend we play at home versus the Devils. The Devils are the one time I will not sport a Lightning jersey, Lightning sweater. And it has nothing to do. I'm still rooting for them. The Devils originated here in Kansas City as the Scouts back in 1974. I went to Kansas City Scouts games when I was a little tiny child. So that was actually my first introduction to professional hockey, although the Scouts, if you research them, not very professional. They only lasted 2 years before going to Colorado, becoming the Rockies, staying for 5, and then moving to New Jersey. So when the Devils play the Lightning, I do sport a Kansas City Scouts jersey, but I will root for the Lightning. So anyway, a couple days ago I mentioned that I had no idea who we played in football this weekend. It's the Washington football team, which is why I had no idea. I mean, they don't even have a mascot anymore. So I understand that. But anyway, that's who we're playing later today. Good luck. Do we need it? So I know they're horrible. Anyway, I have a guest today. So my guest is a coworker of mine in Kansas City. We have one thing in common besides our love of hating customers. We are enemies of the state here in Kansas City. Hey, Chris, welcome to the show.
Hey, Ronnie, thanks for having me.
Yeah. Chris, so you are a Broncos fan.
Yes.
Living here in Kansas City. I'm a Buccaneers fan. Now, I've only had this like the last, really since Brady signed with the Bucs. And then with the Super Bowl, it got exacerbated. But, you know, I got a lot of shit from people here in Kansas City about me liking the Bucs for so long when they were bad. And I was like, I've always been a Buccaneers fan, so I've seen worse than what they've currently played. But as for really people being kind of pissy about it, has only happened since Brady got there. You have to deal with that all the time.
Yeah, well, it's especially now since they've gone to the AFC twice, they've won a Super Bowl once. There's a lot more Chiefs fans when they're winning than when they're losing, and it's really hard to make an argument with somebody that really doesn't know what's going on.
It is, so, and sometimes that's one of the things, because one of the things that's going on here in Kansas City, and I mentioned it on an earlier podcast, was there is literally a petition to bench Mahomes.
Are you serious?
Yes, and I can't even wrap. I mean, for someone, I mean, I don't know if that speaks more to cancel culture, what that speaks towards, but that is just.
I think everybody thinks they have a voice now, but like Mahomes is undeniably a great quarterback, and you would not have half of your wins without him.
Right. So do you ever think that with Mahomes, sometimes it's also the receivers? I mean, how much do you think with the Chiefs? Do you watch the Chiefs?
Yes.
Okay, so see, I only watch the Buccaneers. I'm very much a homer. I will only watch my hometown team.
You're a homo?
Yes, I just cannot get into it if I don't have any buy-in. I don't do fantasy football. I understand how that can get people interested in teams that they're not used to, just because of the fact that, I need this guy to get points. I don't really care if his team wins or not, but I need him to get points. I've never done, or I don't do fantasy football. I don't enjoy
Neither
it.
do I.
But I can't watch anyone else. But you watch the Chiefs. Do you ever think that it's the receivers bailing him out?
Yeah, I think they have Tyreek Hill, and this is how they always played. Was Tyreek would just run 60 yards. Mahomes would throw it as far as he can. It was backyard football, and it worked. But whenever they played the Bucs in the Super Bowl, they got their asses handed to them. And it was that 2 safety defense, and I loved watching it. Now that's what everybody does,
right.
And they can't do anything about it now. And
I've read some stories that people are saying that the Bucs gave the blueprint on how to break Mahomes. And I don't know about that. I just wonder. So, and this was before you were even born, but back in the 80s, a good friend of mine in high school, he was a big Nebraska fan. He was from Nebraska, was living in Kansas City, but loved Nebraska football. And he was all excited because Nebraska football was, in the 80s, they were trying to transition kind of out of a running game to a more passing thing. And he was excited because they were going to have this new high school quarterback come in, and he was the brother of a great Miami Dolphins receiver. I don't remember if it was Mark Duper or Mark Clayton. I want to say Clayton. I'm not sure, but it was one of those receivers. I think his brother went to be quarterback at Nebraska, and he was so excited because he was thinking, "Oh well, his brother is such a good receiver. This guy's got to have the talent." Well, we found out his brother was horrible. The reason his brother was such a good receiver is because his brother had to track down all these horrible passes his brother was lofting up there. So it just kind of made me wonder, how often is a throw that probably, if anyone else attempted it, would just fall flat, but because of the receiving core that he has, Kelsey and Tyreek Hill and Hardman and to some extent Demarcus Robinson. I'm not a big Robinson fan because he went to University of Florida. I was never a fan of his really there. But anyway, so those guys, do you think they bail him out more often than not? Or do you think that, I know he was drafted high. I know that I'm not saying he doesn't have talent. I'm just wondering, put him with lesser receivers, is he going to be anything like what we're used to?
I think that if you took away the receivers that he does have, because he has about 8 solid ones.
Right.
If you took those away, all he could do is just throw a long ball and somebody would have to track under it, like you were saying about that guy and his brother.
Right.
He can always, once a game, there's one 70-yard drop that he's falling backwards or out of the pocket, and it's just nobody else could do that. But you have Tyreek Hill that he just has the skill set to get under it. Now, Is he going to have is Tyreek Hill going to be the fastest guy in the NFL for the next 2-3 years? I don't think so.
Right.
And I think that's going to be their problem going forward, is they're going to have to constantly draft the fastest guy to keep that offense working the way it works right now.
Yeah, and that's what worries me, is when you don't have the talent. Right now, they're trying to form all the talent strictly to Patrick Mahomes, as opposed to saying, this is the talent we have available, we need to create an offense. It reminds me when I went to high school, it literally was our high school coach, small guys were guards, medium-sized guys were forwards, and tall guys were centers.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just how it worked. It didn't matter that maybe the tallest guy was also the best ball handler. That's not how it worked. So
exactly.
And that's why, and it was funny because a few years after I got out of high school, we were mediocre at best. I mean, we had good talent. Small guys were guards, medium-sized guys were forwards, tall guys were centers. Doesn't always work out. A few years later, he had the right talent to fit that, You know, the small guys were the best guards, and the medium guys were the best forwards. So, and he won a state title.
Like breaking them.
Yeah. So, and that's what I kind of worry about with the Chiefs doing that. You know, and that's one thing that's cool about Brady when he got to Tampa. He literally just, I mean, everything, he can throw it in any direction.
Yeah. And I really hated Brady when he was in the AFC, but seeing him in the NFC, it's a lot easier to like him, especially since he was able to build the whole team around him, basically be a head coach as well as the play caller and quarterback. It was, I respect that kind of play.
You know what's funny is that now that you mentioned that, how you had mentioned earlier about Kansas City fans and saying shit that they don't know anything about. I always have fans because of my Buccaneers mask, and I have 6 different Buccaneers masks that I wear. People will say stuff about it, and they're always like, "Oh, because of Brady." Like they didn't exist. They didn't do anything.
Like they didn't win a Super Bowl before.
Well, yeah, you know, even before the Chiefs, before Mahomes got there, people would give me shit about Buccaneers, and I'm like, you know, they would be like, anything under 50, I would be at least the Buccaneers have won a Super Bowl during your lifetime. Your Chiefs haven't. And so, you know, that sometimes that you would get the grief of, you know, because so I have a keychain in my pocket from my very first keychain that was given to me with my first car in 1983, and it's a little Buccaneers keychain. It's so faded and patinaed, the metal and everything, but I mean, I'll pull it out to show people. I'm like, yeah, this is, you know,
this is how long I've been a Bucs fan.
This is 40 years old right here. This one thing, and this is, you know, the oldest thing that I just keep on me. And it's funny, our Christmas tree it's not all, but there is a good quarter of that tree that is just Buccaneers ornament. I know. So, and most of it's the old. I'm partial to the creamsicle, the old orange uniforms, which I'm still partial to your Denver Broncos when they go back to their throwback orange tops.
Oh my gosh, that's the color of jerseys that I buy if I can.
Yeah, and actually the only thing I like better than that with the Broncos attire is, at least in Madden, I don't even know if it's a real uniform, but in Madden you could put on a throwback uniform from like AFL days and the like brown and yellow vertical striped socks.
Yeah.
Was that a real uniform?
Yes, it was.
Wow. That's a bold choice. Brown and yellow.
I
mean, who decided? Do we go with a piss color or a crap color? Hey, why don't we just go with both?
Just mix them up.
Yeah, let's do it. That's why you're the leader. That is why you're the leader.
That's why you get paid the big bucks.
Yeah, and that's the same guy that named him the Broncos because he's the one that had been kicked in the head by a horse and was like, we should call them Broncos too. Now, why are you a Broncos fan? Are you from Denver?
No, I am from Kansas City.
But you had to pick someone that you could walk around and be hated all the time? That's cool.
Yeah, it was a choice. You know? And I stand by it. But I am a Kansas City Royals fan. Never really got into basketball, but I grew up watching Favre and Elway play, and I fell in love with their style of play. And when I played Madden 99, when I got my PlayStation back in fucking forever ago, I remember seeing Elway getting spun, and I'm like, that's the guy. That's the guy that plays football the best. And so my teams are the Broncos first and the Packers second. Yeah,
those were different core. I mean, those were just gunslingers in a different way. I mean, like, I don't ever remember. I guess I didn't pay attention to them enough to know whether or not but I guess Elway, they both did a lot of scrambling. I guess it was just a different kind of scrambling than they did. So who does the Denver play today?
Denver plays the Eagles, and I think they have a losing record. God, I don't know. I don't know who anybody is in the NFL right now.
Yeah, and that's how. I mean, and I do that, and I'm at the point where because of our championships, I'm not anxious, like, who do we play next? We got to win that game. Let's get to 11 wins or 12 wins or 13 wins. Let's make sure we're in the playoffs. I used to always do that. And now just like I was in the intro, I was talking about the Lightning. I literally just want them to be competitive. I just want to watch games and really enjoy them. I really hope they win. I hope they beat the teams that I hate so much. But
like
the Panthers.
I'm sorry, I had to look up Gritty.
Yeah,
that little orange nightmare.
Yeah. Did you not know who Gritty was?
I saw him. I thought that he was who I thought he was, but I didn't remember the mascot.
That is someone that's into that furry shit, that, role playing like that, which I'm not throwing shade. I would do it if my wife would be into it. I'm just saying that someone that was into that came up with Gritty. Someone had gone to one of those fur parties or whatever they call them, and then the next day they were supposed to have come up with an idea for a mascot, and they're like, oh, fuck, I totally forgot.
I got it.
And then they're like, you know what? I have this headdress in my cart. Let me bring that in real quick. And then
what do you think?
Yeah, and they're like, why does it look like it just had sex? And I have no idea. I have no idea. So, yeah, we get Gritty this week, which is always fun. So, and Phil, are you a hockey fan at all?
I went to a Casey Blades game when I was 8, and that's about all I have with it. I watched the Blues win like 2 or 3 years ago.
Right. It was 3 years ago, but
3 years ago.
Yeah, because we've won the last 2, so yeah, it's 3 years ago.
Dude, I'm sorry.
Yeah. See, I try to get into the Blues just to give me someone else locally I could watch. I was looking for a second team, and I just can't. I can't watch anyone other than the Lightning. Occasionally, I will watch Boston, but it's only because I'm rooting for whoever Boston's playing for. I'm rooting for them to just beat up on Boston, and those are the games that I don't care if it's
so you have an
5-0
anti-team in Bruins.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm not a huge Bruins fan, and I don't.
So
I'm not a Marchand fan. If they got rid of Marchand, I would be much more accepting of the Bruins. And the funny thing is, my wife, whose name's Bobbi, and went to Wichita State, which their school colors are black and yellow or black and gold.
Oh,
there's an old Bruins jersey that just has the big B on it and then has like the B, the black and yellow striped sleeves. And I've always wanted to get that for my wife. I thought that would be funny for her to have her own hockey, but I can't because it's the Bruins. I just cannot bring myself to do it. Yeah. So, okay. Well, the only thing I remember about Blades hockey, and for people that have no idea about what he's talking about, Kansas City Blades were a minor league hockey team back in the early 90s. And I used to go down there, and the difference then, because I can't remember if I had season tickets or if I just went to almost every game, but those guys it was just one-on-one. Guy would get the puck, skate all the way down, and shoot. There was no passing in it, and that's what's so amazing about one of the things that makes the NHL amazing.
Yeah, I think it was like 8-5. It was a high-scoring game.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
I did also go to the Mavericks game last year. I just remembered.
What, during COVID you're going to a game? Where do you live, in Missouri?
No, the deal was you could drink, or you could have your mask down if you had a drink in your hand.
So you just had a drink in your hand for 3 straight periods.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, that makes sense. I mean, that's exactly what I would have done. So
right?
Yeah. Okay. Chris, hey, last thing I was noticing on your last name is, which I didn't say, is Scarcello. And last night I had been drinking and smoking, and I started thinking it sounded like Scarcello, and then it started making me think, this is how high I was, I started thinking, what would that have been the nickname if Scarlett Johansson would have married Bill Cosby? And then I was like, well, that would have never happened. Jeez. But then I remembered that Bill Cosby had a way with the women.
Yeah, so, anything's possible, man, if you just believe in yourself.
Yeah, or
and you got a few drinks.
Believe in scientific, the drugs that he may or may not have given people. Yeah. So, what were you going to ask me?
So this is my question. Since I live in Kansas City, grew up here, and so Kansas City has their teams, St. Louis has their teams.
Right.
So it's a pretty easy division.
Right.
Now with Tampa, Miami, and Jacksonville, I know they're different subsets, obviously, but what's it like having 3 different professional teams in one state?
Well, I think
you just you run into each other all the time.
I mean, it is regional to some extent, and because they entered the NFL at such different eras. They didn't no two of those teams of those three came in at the same time or near the same time. That everyone had kind of built up a fan base. So like when Miami was there, I was a Miami fan because in Tampa we didn't have our own team. In fact, University of Tampa had a big football team, and when I think it was John Matuzak, who played for the Chiefs, played for the Raiders, but I think he was the number 1 overall draft pick out of University of Tampa. But when Tampa was awarded the Buccaneers in '74, I believe is when they were announced, I think that University of Tampa said that the city couldn't support 2 football teams, and they closed down their. So then I became a Buccaneers fan because that was my hometown, that was my city. We got to claim all those losses, our 26 straight losses to begin our franchise. My dad used to always say the joke that when we would go to church, we had tickets to the game. We'd have 4 tickets for the game, and we'd go to church before the game, and my dad would hope that someone would steal the ticket, so he'd leave the tickets just sitting on the dashboard, windows down, doors unlocked and everything, hoping someone would see them. We'd go to church, and we'd come back out an hour later, and there'd be 8 tickets sitting there, and it'd be like, great, now we got to find another family to go with us. So we sat through some bad stuff, and then I think when Jacksonville came, which was mid-'90s, that the people, the northern and eastern part of the state, gravitated towards Jacksonville just because that was more geographic towards them.
It was their town.
I will tell you, though, for whatever reason, when you're a Floridian, you will pick a school. Whether you go to that college or not, you will pick a school, and you will hate the other schools. So a girl that I went to high school with here in Kansas City, she went to University of Miami. I went to University of Florida. When her oldest chose a school for engineering, he went to University of Florida. And she had made a comment on Facebook about, how devastating, what kind of parent, what did I do to this child and
so
everything.
It's like an ethical choice.
Yeah. And so I made some snarky comment like, welcome to the Gator Nation or something like that. And she lit me up. And afterwards, I was like, she had every right to, because if my girls would have said, I'm going to Florida State, I didn't care where they went. Right. I just didn't want them to go to any other school in the state of Florida that wasn't UF. That's if you're Miami, if you're Florida State, that's generally how you're going to be. Your favorite other team is whoever's playing in Florida State this week. So them going through all the turmoil they're going through, it would be much better if University of Florida was playing some really nice football right now, which we're not. So because then we could really dump on them. But
so you
it's
like
always
college
good.
Football as well?
I did until this iteration of the Florida Gators. I mean, I had some other things going on yesterday. I finally turned the game on middle of the second quarter, and I think it was 42-28, Samford. Yeah. And I was like, and it was funny because at halftime, I was like, I actually think I said out loud, can they fire a coach at halftime? And then after the game, I was reading all these tweets and everything, and people were asking the same question. They were asking whether Bullen was going to come out at halftime. And, I don't know. I don't know. We got really spoiled in the early aughts, and 06 to 08, having 2 football titles, 2 basketball titles, you get really spoiled. But that's and that does last. Just like my Tampa Bay Lightning, those Stanley Cup. That's getting me going. This year, I'm all right. If we did not make the playoffs, but we stayed competitive, I'd be okay with that. But next year, I'd be like, oh, we probably should have made the play. And then it'll start, so now I actually was going to try to sell them, and I just threw them in the trash. I found my mint condition, and not the only reason they're mint is because I put them in a drawer and literally haven't touched them in years, not on purpose. But the Sports Illustrated that came out after each Gator football national championship and basketball national championship, because I was thinking, I should frame these and make it really nice. And then I'm like, fuck that, they haven't done shit in so long. No, I'll do it on the next one. So
that's like a stake in the ground that's saying, like, hey, we did it then.
This is how long it's been since the good time. I have a Tim Tebow jersey. So
Yeah.
Anthony Richardson is a Gator quarterback right now. He's a redshirt freshman. He's number 15. Tebow was 15. I was so hoping that Richardson would be so amazing I could take off the nameplate of Tebow and put Richardson on there and be proud of that jersey again. But now, I mean, literally people don't remember who Tebow are. I mean, 18-year-old kids don't, because when he was great at Florida, they were 5. So they really don't have any clue as to what a Tebow is. So they think he's a baseball player.
Or what? Played for Jacksonville. He was tight end for one preseason game.
Yeah, so I didn't pay any attention.
He was also a quarterback for my Broncos.
Yeah,
and
he was.
He whooped Tom Brady's ass back in the day.
Yeah.
But God, he couldn't do anything outside of the fourth quarter. So hard to stick with that guy.
I know it is, and that's my thing. Was he wins games. So that's always. Do you want to be pretty and win games, or do you want? Or do you want to be pretty and lose, or do you want to win games? I mean, and sometimes, yeah, I don't know. So if you've been winning, it's easier to lose as long as you're pretty. But if you're not winning and you're not pretty, it sucks. So
yeah.
Anyway, hey Chris, thanks for joining me on this episode of Talking Tampa Bay Sports with Ro. I'll have you on again. So, what do you? So we're halfway through the season. Give me a prediction of what you think the Broncos are going to do.
Broncos are going to go, I want to say 9-8. And
God, that's so weird to say that. I mean, for someone that has confused. A touch of OCD like me, having 17 games, no, it doesn't. Nope.
It doesn't compute.
Nope.
Yeah.
What you say 9-8?
9-8. We possibly get to a wild card game and then we just choke.
Okay.
That's okay.
Okay. I went 13-4 at the beginning of the season. I say that we're going to the Super Bowl again. I'm saying that we're going to win it. I had originally picked Cleveland, but I've kind of bailed on that ship. It was going to come out of the AFC. I thought it may be Kansas City, but I mean, honestly, they should have been in 3 Super Bowls. They were a D Ford offside penalty away from going to 3 straight Super Bowls.
Yeah.
So. True. And especially, so I wasn't going to I didn't choose them at the beginning of the season because 4 in a row is hard. It's only been done once by the Bills back in the 90s. So
and they lost every single one.
They did. And it was funny because, not funny, I played on a church basketball league at the time here in Kansas City, and the long snapper for the Bills all 4 years, he went to my church. His family was from our area and went to our church, and we played together. So he went to each one of those Super Bowls, and he was always so excited when he went, and then he was always so depressed. I mean, the first year, he was still pretty excited when he got back. And then the second year, he's like, I wish we would have won. And the last 2 years is like, don't talk to him when he gets back.
Yeah.
Don't do that. So, but yeah, I mean, so I didn't pick the Chiefs just because 4 in a row is so stinking hard. In fact, that's how when I went through the playoffs last year, I made a very valid case because we played a Washington football team. I think it was our first playoff game. And I was like, it's them. Hello. And then the second game was the Saints. And my thing about the Saints is it doesn't matter who it is. It's hard to beat the same team 3 times in a year. They'd beat us twice in the regular season. And so I said, no, they're not going to. And then we destroyed the Packers at home. And I didn't see why we couldn't do that there. So, and then I had also picked them. It was funny because before the Super Bowl, I was picking the Chiefs by 20 points, and people thought I was insane. And I kept pointing out I keep saying you but it's not you. But I would keep pointing out to them that you guys don't have any tackles right now, and we have edge rushers. So good luck, Mahomes, and that's exactly what happened. So, but we'll see. I mean, I'll stick with mine.
So you're still saying that you're going all the way?
Yep.
And winning it. All right.
Yep. I am. So, and I still think my Lightning have a good shot at winning a 3rd straight Stanley Cup. So, I think I think they're playing really well. I know you don't follow hockey. This is more for everyone else, not you, Chris.
The Canadians have done that before, though, right? They've gone like 3 in a row.
There have. So for a long time, there were some stretches. So up until I believe 1967. There were only 6 teams. And they're called the original six. And that's why, like, when St. Louis won the Stanley Cup, they had talked about they hadn't been back to a Stanley Cup final since they had gone to 4 straight. Well, the 4 straight they went to were like the first 4 when they had expansion teams. Because basically, I think it was, and I haven't done any research on this, so if I'm wrong, please just tell me. Don't scream at me about this, someone. But I believe that the original 6 had a winner, and then they would play one of the expansion teams. So the expansion team always got crushed. So those first 4 years, the Blues went. So the last team to win more than 2 in a row was the Islanders of the early 80s, like 80 to 83, something like that. They won 4 in a row. So that it would be neat to win 3, but like I said, that's difficult.
It's hard enough to go.
It is, and injuries just come out of nowhere with hockey. I mean, and they never tell you. It's always upper body injury, lower body injury. It's day to day, week to week, month to month. I mean, that's all they give you on stuff. So it's kind of hard to judge whether an injury is going to be significant over the course of the season or not. But that being said, some of our new guys that we had to replace, we lost one, of course, to the Kraken expansion draft, and then some free agents and trades that we just had to purge some salary cap. But the guys that we brought in, they were veterans, and they're finally starting to find their place. So I think that we're going to be fine. I'm just glad that we're playing super competitive hockey. And when we beat someone like the Panthers, oh my God, it was awesome. And I was exhausted. I was kind of hoping for a blowout one way or the other so I could have gone to sleep before the game was over last night. Yeah. But I texted my wife who's out of town. I'd been up since 4 a.m. and I was like, it's tied going into the third. I'm going to see what happens. So, but I'm glad I watched. So it was awesome. Anyway, awesome. Chris, thank you so much. I will look forward to having you again. To everyone else out there, thank you again for listening to Talking Tampa Bay Sports with the Ro. I'll talk to you all next time.